Am I the only one that didn't know how the British Raj transformed India? The year 1600 marked the arrival of the British East India Company on the shores of India. Initially, their focus was solely on trade, bringing and taking valuable goods like spices and textiles. They established their trading centers in key cities like Surat, Madras, and Calcutta. The Mughal Empire was at its peak, and they granted the company permission to trade. Armed with a royal charter, the British East India Company gradually began to increase its influence. The Mughal Empire began to decline. They took full advantage of this situation and continued to increase their political and military power. Their initial trade ambitions soon turned into territorial ambitions. And this is where a dramatic shift in the balance of power began. This paved the way for British dominance in the subcontinent. The Battle of Plassey, fought in 1757, proved to be a turning point in Indian history. On one side of this battle was the army of the British East India Company, and on the other side was the Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Daulah. Led by Robert Clive, the company made cunning strategies and took advantage of the rivals present in the Nawab's court. This resulted in a resounding victory for the British. The Battle of Plassey, although fought on a small scale, had far-reaching consequences. It marked the beginning of British political dominance in India. This victory gave the company control over Bengal, a region of immense wealth and resources. This new acquisition fueled further expansion and strengthened the company's grip on the subcontinent. This war effectively transformed the East India Company from a trading entity into a major political power. The victory at Plassey emboldened the company to intervene further in Indian affairs. They installed a puppet ruler in Bengal, consolidating their control over the region's revenue and trade. The vast wealth extracted from Bengal financed the company's military campaigns in other parts of India. This victory sent shockwaves throughout the Indian subcontinent, making it clear that the British were now a force to be reckoned with. The Battle of Plassey had a profound impact on the political landscape of India. It shattered existing power structures and paved the way for the gradual erosion of Indian autonomy. This victory acted as a catalyst for the company's rapid territorial expansion in the following decades. It marked a turning point in Indian history, a shift from relative autonomy to growing British control. In the aftermath of the Battle of Plassey, the East India Company consolidated its rule over vast areas of India. This era, marked by significant administrative, economic, and social changes, had a profound impact on Indian society. Driven by profit maximization, the company implemented policies that often came at the expense of the native population. One of the major changes introduced by the company was the establishment of a new administrative system. They dismantled existing systems of governance and installed their own bureaucracy. This new system, while efficient in collecting revenue, often lacked an understanding of local customs and traditions. The company's focus on revenue collection led to the exploitation of Indian farmers and artisans, who were often forced to grow cash crops like indigo and opium at the expense of food security. The company's economic policies were designed to benefit British industries at the cost of Indian industries. They flooded the Indian market with cheaply manufactured goods from Britain, leading to the decline of traditional Indian industries. This resulted in widespread unemployment and poverty, particularly in textile-producing regions. The drain of wealth from India to Britain enriched the British economy while impoverishing India. Socially, the company's rule led to the erosion of traditional Indian institutions and customs. They introduced Western education and legal systems, often at the expense of neglecting indigenous knowledge systems. The introduction of English as the language of administration further marginalized a large section of the Indian population. While these changes did have some positive effects in the long run, they were often implemented with little regard for the cultural sensitivities of the Indian people. The Revolt of 1857, a nation's struggle for freedom. In 1857, a major uprising broke out against British rule, often referred to as the Sepoy Mutiny, or India's First War of Independence. This widespread rebellion began with a seemingly minor issue: the introduction of greased cartridges for the Enfield rifle. These cartridges were rumored to be greased with animal fat, which offended the religious sentiments of both Hindu and Muslim soldiers. The revolt, which began in Meerut, soon spread to other parts of North and Central India. Expressing their long-held grievances against company rule, sepoys were joined by local rulers, peasants, and artisans in their fight against the British. The rebels, who lacked a unified command structure and a clear vision for the future, fought bravely, but were ultimately defeated by the superior British forces. The Revolt of 1857, though unsuccessful in its immediate objective of overthrowing British rule, had far-reaching consequences. It shook the foundations of East India Company rule and exposed the vulnerabilities of British power in India. The brutality with which the British suppressed the revolt left a deep scar on the Indian psyche. In the aftermath of the revolt, the British Crown assumed direct control over India, bringing an end to East India Company rule. The British government, determined to prevent further uprisings, implemented a number of administrative and social reforms. These reforms were aimed at addressing some of the grievances that had led to the revolt, but also at further consolidating British control over India. The British Raj, from company rule to crown control,